All right, welcome everybody. It's Brian Walsh here from The Real Entrepreneur, and wherever you're joining us from all over the world, I see people already telling us, welcome. I'm going to be guiding you through this process with Dr. John Demartini. So it's great to have you with us, and you can actually start by just telling us where you're coming from, like most people are already doing, because I can see hello from Perth, and hi from New Zealand, and hi from Cape Town. We've got big time zone differences there already. And we got more. We got hello from California. Give us your name. Oh, I can see your name. I'm sorry. Duh. Done this before, Brian. Kevin from Vancouver, welcome. So, guys, let us know where you're joining us from. There are literally hundreds and hundreds of people flying into the room. Shannon from Lusaka, which is great to have you with us as well. Sahad from Pakistan, good to have you with us. We've got Ingrid from Mexico. Student from England. Jasmine from Germany, welcome. So we've got people flooding in from all over the world, which is absolutely amazing. And this just shows the power of Dr. John Demartini and how he influences people. That so many people want to come and listen to him from so many different countries in the world at the same time. Guys, it's great to have you with us, and we're really, really excited to be presenting this particular presentation today. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Now we have a little poll we'd like you to do. We just want to find out whether you are in business and what stage you are in business. So if we're going to pop up that poll shortly, we'd love it if you could actually just, select which option is best suited to you in the poll. And then we'll start to see how many of you guys are established in business, or you're just starting up, or if you haven't yet started a business, because obviously the topic is predominantly around business, being powerful business insights. Gerard, do I see that poll? Because I can't see anything that's come up yet. Do I need to click on the poll section?
Correct, yes.
There we go. Yeah, now I can see it. All right, excellent. So we can see straight away. The majority, we're almost at 50% on startup, which is brilliant. 30% established businesses, 25% currently employed. Okay, so looks like about half the room has recently started up, was in startup businesses, which is interesting. And then we're looking at about sort of jumping between sort of 25, approximately between currently employed. So I would assume obviously interested in looking at business or improving how we operate in the businesses that they're in, assuming they're in management, and established businesses looking at about 25% as well. So it gives us a good indication. It's jumping around still as people fill it out. So thank you everybody for that. That's really, really cool to know. So we can get an idea of who's in the room, who we're talking to, which is really, really cool. So thanks for that. So let me just get back to the chat here as well, so we can see what you guys are saying. People are still coming into the room in mass. So just want to, welcome those that have just come in. It's great to have you with us. And shortly, we're going to be hearing from Dr. Demartini on the powerful business insights that are really, really transformational. I'm super excited to listen to this as well. So really, really good to have that. Thanks for all the comments, and thanks for sharing the information as you come in. That's really, really important to us as well. Just want to say that Dr. Demartini does an incredible 2-day process. We were just talking about the one he did in Cape Town in South Africa, and it's called the Breakthrough Experience. It's his signature event that he does on most weekends of the year. And at the end of the seminar, we're going to give you opportunities to potentially, get yourself to one of those events. Of course, it's not compulsory for you to do that, but for those that would like to actually experience John live in this 2-day transformational experience that I've been to, it's absolutely amazing. We'll let you know about that towards the end of the webinar as we go through as well. So also, please, I hope you got a pen and paper. And if you haven't, grab one quickly, because I know John, whenever he speaks, there's just crazy amounts of information and knowledge that comes through. And you're going to definitely want to take some notes, the things that really impact you, that connect with you. You want to take notes and try and find some real practical things that you can implement from what John's going to share as well. So please make sure you got a pen and paper. If you haven't, go and grab one now quickly before we get John started. And just so you know, the comments are open live now, but as soon as John starts speaking, we'll turn those into private. So we can still see your comments, so please still comment, but you won't see everyone else's comments, because we don't want you to be distracted by a chat comment zone versus actually listening to John, which is, of course, critical. So let's get going straight away. So like I said before, my name is Brian Walsh. I'm from The Real Entrepreneur. And it's not about me today. It's really about Dr. Demartini, who I've known for over 10 years now. It's actually unbelievable. how long Dr. Demartini's been in my life. And I remember taking him around South Africa many, many, many years ago, and him blowing, me away, and the massive audience put in front of him as well. And subsequently reading a lot of his books, working with him extensively. And honestly, I can say out of the, I work through the Real Entrepreneur. We work with some of the biggest trainers in the world from all over the world. Biggest names that you can think of. We work with them locally and internationally. But from a personal perspective, Dr. Demartini is probably the first one. Whenever people say, who's the one teacher that's made the greatest impact on you, I always go Dr. Demartini. And that's not a word of a lie. That's 100% true. It is somebody that I've got huge, huge admiration for, and has had such a massive impact in my life. So it is an absolute privilege to have him with us. And, he travels the world literally on a full-time basis, transforming millions of people's lives. And it's absolutely unbelievable to hear the stories. And you can see by witnessing the people from so many different countries that are actually in the room with us today. But I don't want to talk anymore, because I really want to get Dr. Demartini up himself so we can really discuss concepts around powerful business insights as a whole. So without further ado, let's get Dr. Demartini up, and we will then start to ask him some questions and get him going. There we go. Let me just remove this.
Hi, Brian. Hi, everybody.
Dr. Demartini, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm in Johannesburg.
I believe so. And I'm in Cape Town, and I didn't even know you were in the country. So that's great.
You were going to Cape Town when I was coming here. We were crossing in the midair, I think.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, it's great to talk to you again. It's been a while, like I said earlier. But very, very excited about this topic. I mean, we're talking about, critical business insights. And I think the theme that I really want to go with you, I always, whenever people say to me, what is Dr. John Demartini about? I go, well, he's the number one human behavioral specialist in the world today. And we talk about human behavior. We talk about people, because that's predominantly what you're working with. But now we're talking about business. And, when I think of the many challenges and the different dynamics, like we got half the room of startups, right? So they're going to be going through that phase where cash flow could be a problem, or setting up the team could be a problem, or getting new business could be the problem. The established businesses, trying to get teams to work effectively, trying to get better bottom line results in their business. How would human behavior, human development, and talking about people have an impact in the actual tangible elements of business as a whole, from your experience?
Well, let's start with what the definition of a business is, at least the way I'm going to describe it. You're attempting to go out into the world and find a need. You're either solving a problem, finding a solution to a problem. You're filling a need. You're answering a question. You're filling a void. You're dealing with a challenge. You're trying to serve people. And that's a human being. And you're attempting to do it efficiently and effectively to make a profit. And you're a human being. And the people you work with are human beings. And so the question is, the business is about human beings and their behavior and how effective they are at communicating the product, service, or idea in terms of the values and the dominant buying motives of the people. And if that's not communicated effectively, there's no business. And if you're not inspired by what you're doing in the business and all the responsibilities of it, you may not have the drive to make it a viable business. So human behavior underlies every aspect of business. In fact, I was speaking to a lovely group of EO specialists who are very people that have great businesses, and we were talking about why is a human behavioral specialist talking on business? And I said, because it's human behavior, it's humans, and when you stop and think about it, even the values of a company that people talk about, it's still values of human beings in the company. So I don't know of one aspect of business that's not human behavior related. So that's why I am fascinated by that. I've been literally being involved in business and consulting now for 36 years. And prior to that, I was starting my business, which is over 40 years ago. And so I've been speaking for 46 years now, almost. So, business is people.
Yeah. And I think it's, and I mean, like we always say, I mean, a lot of people don't realize how much the success of their business, or the ability of the business to penetrate market, or the ability to build an effective team, is often related to them, and it often starts with the business owner. And I've heard the saying often before that you as the business owner are often the chokehold in your own business. So a lot of it starts with the development of the actual business owner in their context as well. And let's just sort of talk about that relevance and the relevance of a business being a vehicle to take somebody's vision to a different level, because that's a starting point of where it really involves you as the individual and becoming the best version of yourself.
Well, most entrepreneurs start out as grabbing an idea that they're inspired by, that they believe the market is demanding. But a lot of young entrepreneurs starting out, I'm actually astonished by how many project assumptions onto the market instead of finding out what people actually want and need. And so one of the wisest things to do is to do market share. I was consulting with a young guy that was starting a business, and he just was all enthused. But I asked him, are you sure there's really a market for what you believe the world wants? I said, it'd be wise to do some market investigation here, because some surveys and things to find out, because there's two parts to the equation. You have to meet their needs and you have to meet your needs. If you don't meet their needs, they don't buy. If you don't meet your needs, you're not inspired. And there's no inspiration to go to work every day. So you have to find a way of finding a balance between altruistic giving to people and narcissistic receiving, and making sure you find equity between you and them to make a sustainable business. So the young starting out entrepreneur, very important to make sure that they have a real need, because otherwise they're fighting uphill trying to get sales. They're fighting uphill trying to market and advertising, and they may have to readjust it and then reorganize their brand. So find out, make sure there's some market research to make sure there's a real need. That's important. And then as far as their vision, if they aren't clear on their vision, any detail in their vision that's not clear usually becomes a challenge and obstacle along the journey. And most plateaus in business that I run into consulting, when I ask them, okay, so where are you taking the business? They're hazy, they're vague, they're general, and they don't have a really clear pathway. We have in our brain, we have a forebrain and we have a hindbrain. And the forebrain is for foresight, and the hindbrain is for learning through trial and error and hindsight. And the forebrain is involved in strategic planning, inspired vision, executing plans, and self-governance. And this is the area of the brain, this is the executive center, this is the area that business needs to start from. So if you're not doing something that's really important to you, not high on your values, and not really inspiring to you, something you can't wait to go and deliver to the world, and it's got a market, it's got to have a market share. Unless somebody wants to need that product, service, or idea. But if you have that, your brain, the blood glucose and oxygen will go into the forebrain, and you will see the vision lucidly, clearly. And any detail you see missing from the vision, you don't see it, is an obstacle you face. So first, getting clear on your vision. The young man that I consulted with the other day, I said, you started out in a business, you did it out of impulse, kind of the amygdala instead of the forebrain. You didn't do any strategic planning. You assumed people wanted things instead of actually doing your homework and going and finding what people want and making sure that you think through the plans and think of every obstacle and what are you going to do to solve it in advance. Thinking in advance is smarter. So any detail you leave out of your vision is an obstacle and challenge you face. And your energy and vitality of a business is going to be directly proportional to the vividness and the clarity of that vision. How is that? Can you see every step of the way? When I was in practice years ago, it's not my first practice, but my second one particularly. I started my first practice, but my second practice, when I moved to the 52nd floor of a tall building, I used to sit in my reception room before the day would start, and I would look at all the patients that were coming in at the time, and I looked at all of the procedures that were scheduled, and I would see it in my mind's eye, every detail, and think of everything that they might throw at me and prepare in advance. I looked at birthdays. I looked at anything that might come up that day that might be helpful in that business to achieve that business. And if I could see it in my mind's eye clearly and imagine exactly what I'm going to do if this happens, what am I going to do if this happens, what am I going to do if this happens, I'm amazed at how much more fluent and clear the day was. The day was fluid to the degree that you were fluent. And that's why starting with a clear vision and a clear mission statement, that's really, the purpose of a mission statement is not just to write up a mission statement so put on a wall and people can read and, oh, that's interesting. It's a real clarity of what you're committed to and such a clarity that the vision of that, the vision statement, is absolutely clear, and you know exactly what you're going to do and how you're going to do it and what you're going to face. That makes a difference. Foresight pays off.
And I think, it's interesting we talk about values because, working with tens of thousands of entrepreneurs myself, one of the biggest challenges we often see is really that question about whether the business you started is a business that ultimately serves your true values versus a business that, you happen to get trained in or a skill that you had, but actually isn't inspiring to you. What do we say to people? How do we get people to determine, especially in the startup phase, because that's when you want to make sure you change it? And why is it so important that you really try and align your business with who you are and your values from that perspective versus not? Because from what we can see is all successful businesses tend to come from a vision, and they tend to come from people that knew exactly what they wanted to achieve before they started, and that was who they were.
Well, you're saying it exactly as it needs to be, because if you're not inspired, when you can't wait to get up in the morning and be of service to people, people can't wait to get that service. Almost everybody here has gone into a restaurant, a department store, or been in a transport vehicle of something where somebody was doing a job because they had to, and the service showed it. It was usually poor, substandard service. The second you got with somebody who absolutely loved what they were doing and they were inspired by it and they couldn't wait to do it, they thought of details. They thought advanced. I got in a car service recently, and there was a gentleman in there, and he had 3 generations of car transport. This is his grandfather did it, his father did it, now he's doing it. He loves it. He had water, he had any music you wanted, he had magazines, he had reading materials, he had an internet ready for you if you wanted to sign on for the internet. He had everything that you could imagine, so there was nothing he hadn't thought of in advance. And you wanted his card and you wanted to use him again. And he would spontaneously double his business every time he got a person in the car because his heart was there, his soul was there. He didn't have this empty shell of a body called a corporate body. He had a soul in the corporate body because he was inspired. So when you live congruently with your highest values, there's a fluency and there's a congruency and there's an inspiration, and people can tell the difference when they're doing business with you. They can tell if it's your life's mission or if it's just some job you're doing that you're trying to do it. You talk in the first person instead of the third person, for one. You talk about your company as if it's yours, even if you're not the owner. But if you're doing it because you have to, you're talking third person. Well, our company or that kind of thing. So it makes the difference. So you need to know what your values are. In the Breakthrough Experience program that I do, that's one of the things that I make sure we emphasize is to get clear about what you really value. And because your life and identity revolve around what your highest value is. And if your heart's not into it and that identity doesn't match what you're doing, you're going to have a Monday morning blues, Wednesday hump days, thank God it's Fridays, and week friggin' ends. You're not going to have an inspiration to go to work. And I'm certain that the people who start up entrepreneurial adventures are probably going to put in some hours, and you might as well be inspired by it. When a young boy loves video games, he goes out and he conquers the video game. He doesn't give up until he conquers it. And then he goes and looks for a more advanced game and he takes bigger challenges. This is the entrepreneur in the making. When a person's not engaged in what they do, if it gets difficult, they give up. They're not engaged, they're not inspired, etc. That's why it's crucial to make sure that what you really, 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 really want to do is aligned with what's really, really what people want, and find that niche between them. That way you can't wait to go to work and they can't wait to get your service.
Yeah, and I think it's when I went to Breakthrough, I remember doing the values and how much it transformed my life. And much by your advice, I do values, 2 to 4 times every year. And just to keep making sure that I'm congruent. And I find even little changes inside a business. Like recently I found I was slightly off, and we did a whole strategy session and realized there was an element of one of the core values that wasn't being served as effectively as it used to be. Because one thing that seems very true to me from my experience, and definitely people that I've spoken to, is when you are congruent and you do have a purpose-driven, inspired business, things start to work for you. Whereas if you're not being congruent and you're just doing something because you know how to do it, but you're not really inspired to do it, you tend to just have constant problems and challenges that you have to overcome.
Well, I always say that every problem you face in the business is a feedback mechanism to get you authentic. It's that simple.
Yeah.
I was at a lovely school yesterday speaking in Cape Town. And there was a young girl there who, these are people that are just about to graduate and now going to college and start businesses. And there's a young girl there And I asked her, what is it you absolutely love to do every single day that nobody has to remind you to do? What is it you really, really want to do? And she goes, I don't know. And I said, well, if you don't know, you're going to be pushed around and told what to do. And if you don't decide, people that don't decide and don't have a desire to learn and learn, they get told what to think. If they don't go out and start their own business, they get told what to do. If they don't go out and learn how to build their own wealth, they get told what they're worth. So if you don't empower areas of your life, the world overpowers you. And she was basically letting kind of the world around her kind of dictate things. And I just made her accountable for a second. She's a young girl. I just made her accountable. I said, what is it that you do every day that nobody has to remind you to do, that you absolutely love to do, and that you just do it? And she hemmed and hawed, and finally we narrowed it down. She says, I love watching TV. I said, what is the TV that you watch? What's the show? She says, well, detective movies and detective shows. I like solving problems. I said, what kind of problems do you love solving? She says, I love solving problems dealing with crime. I said, have you thought about going into a business where you actually solve problems and help people in that area? And you could see her all of a sudden, the executive center came online. Her face kind of lit up a bit. And you could see her thinking for the first time, instead of just kind of wandering. See, most people live in the shadows of other people and waiting for people to tell them what to do, instead of going inside and going according to your highest values and taking command as a natural born leader, which is what awakens up the real entrepreneur inside. But when I sat with her, I didn't have a lot of time with her, so I only had a few minutes with her. But in a matter of seconds, we had her thinking about what it is that she really, really, really wanted to do. And you could see the clarity of her vision and the energy levels go up as we were doing it. I wish I had a little bit more time with her. We could have narrowed it down and we could have gone and she could have launched off on an entrepreneur direction, or at least a pathway of education that would have been clear. In Tokyo, they're using some of the methods I have on values to help people in guidance counseling for school direction, because that's what the entrepreneurs need. They need to be really clear about what they're committed to, and then find out what the market is looking for and find that niche between them. So they can't wait to go and fill that market. And that makes a difference.
I think where it also starts to become profoundly powerful is, of course, is now in building teams, because most businesses, I always say there's no business that doesn't have a team. Even a one-person business has a team. But at the end of the day, I know it's an area that so many people struggle with. We can employ people, but do we get the right people? And then when we've got them, do we get them to perform in the best way? And what you teach and what you've specialized in for so many years becomes this critical component that can take, unproductive teams and make them productive, and becomes critical to how and who we attract to actually work in our business as well.
Well, what's interesting is nobody goes to work for the sake of a company. I just said that to a group of entrepreneurs just a couple of days ago, and you could see the eyes kind of look up and go, oh, that's true. They go to work for the sake of fulfilling what they value most. So if they can't see how their job description and all the duties and responsibilities and accountabilities they have, and the vision, mission, and primary objectives of the company, or at least the division of the company or department they're in, if they can't see how specifically fulfilling those roles is helping them fulfill what they value most, they're not going to be engaged. They're not going to be inspired. They're not going to want to own it and make it theirs. They're not going to want to be innovative and creative and wake up their natural genius and creativity. They're not going to want to be driven to go out and do the extra mile. They're going to be sitting there disengaged and wanting to take breaks and wanting to go and get tea and coffee and stimulants and go online and distract themselves and who knows what. They're going to go out or they go into consumerism and looking online to shop. This is a sign of a disengaged person, because they don't feel that they're getting their highest values met in the daily activities. And there's no way you can maximize your productivity or wake up your greatest entrepreneurial spirit if you're not engaged. That's why values are so important. That's why in the breakthrough experience, that's one of the key elements that we cover in the breakthrough experience to help people, because there's a lot of entrepreneurs. Most of the people who come to breakthrough are entrepreneurs. And they basically want to grow and expand and break through their limits and either get into, if they're working for somebody else, they want to start the entrepreneurship, or if they're already in it, they want to grow it, or if they already have a very successful one, they want to figure out how to duplicate it or franchise it or possibly have some sort of a next level to it or leave a legacy or a vision with it. But whatever it is, if you're not congruent with the highest values, you're not going to maximally perform, and you're not going to end up with the greatest creativity. So your perceptions, your decisions, and your actions in life is based on your values. And every decision you make is based on what you believe will give the greatest advantage over disadvantage, greatest reward over risk to your highest values in any moment. So if you don't even know what your highest values are, you're not making sure that you're allocating job descriptions accordingly when you hire people or when you're doing yours. and you're not delegating lower priority things, and you're trapped doing things that are unengaging and uninspiring, there's no way you can have the vitality it takes to take it to the next level and be a great company, as Colin says, instead of just a company.
And I think another thing, particularly from the breakthrough experience as well, is the focus there is very much around making people realize that whatever they see in people, good or bad, is actually within them themselves. And I think a lot of people as business owners, they kind of hit a plateau sometimes where they think, I can only go this far. And then other people say, but look at all these very well-known entrepreneurs and how successful, why can't you be like them? And you go, well, I'm not them. I can't be like them. They're special people. They're lucky in order to get that. But I mean, in reality, that's not. And that's one of the most powerful things that you get out of the breakthrough experience is actually, realizing so much is within you already that you sometimes think is not within you, is only within other people.
Exactly. Most people live in the shadows of other ones. Emerson said envy is ignorance and imitation is suicide. And most people live in the shadows of other ones, and they basically compare their daily lives to other people. And the reason why, by the way, when I first started with that young lady yesterday, the reason why she was hesitant is because you could see in her eye movements, she was thinking, what will people think of me? What should I do? What ought I do? What am I supposed to do? What is it I got to do, have to do, must do? It's all imperative language about how society or your parents or somebody out there that's an authority in your life is running you and determining this is what you should do. And very few people have the courage to transcend subordination to outer authority and go within and let the voice and the vision on the inside determine what it is that they want to bring to the outside. And go by their highest values. If we're not comparing our daily actions and prioritizing things according to our own highest values, we're not going to have the vitality to go and overcome the obstacles and challenges of an entrepreneurship. So the key is to not subordinate. And in the breakthrough experience, there's an exercise I give people where you take the most powerful people in business or the most powerful people in any field that you're wanting to master, and you go and identify what it is in those individuals that you think makes them great, and the things that are both positive or negative, whatever it is, because they may be having traits that they need to be ruthless at times, or they need to be determined at times, or they need to be, they just go and not let anything stop them. Whatever the trait is that is taking them to the levels that they're at, you don't miss the trait. It's in a form that just doesn't match their form. It matches your form according to your values. And so in the breakthrough experience, I have a process called owning the traits of the greats. It's part of the Demartini method, which is a powerful method on reflection, and be able to see that no matter what you see in any other human being, you have it inside yourself, both the hero and the villain traits. And by doing that, instead of them running your life, you run your life. Because anything that you deny, anything you're too proud to admit you have, or anything you're too humble to admit you have, because if you infatuate with somebody, you're too humble to admit what you see in them is inside you, and you minimize yourself. And then you play small, and then you live in their shadow. But by going in there and identifying where you demonstrate that trait, where and when do you display and demonstrate the same trait, action, inaction you see in my hero, business hero, and where else, and keep identifying it until you go, my God, I own it. I have it. It's in a different form, and I haven't recognized it. You start standing on their shoulders instead of in their shadows. And then you go in there and find out what's the benefit of their downsides and neutralize the charge on them and take them off the pedestal and level the playing field so you get to play in the same field. We have people that go in there in the golfing industry that took it. We have out of 7 people that did this exercise, 2 of them won the British Open and the European Open after doing that exercise on the top golfers. And the person that was training them on doing it, one of my facilitators, actually got PGA, the 15th honor of the PGA of the world, greatest golf pro. I have people in Hollywood, in the movie industry, that have done this exercise and gone on and just all of a sudden catapulted to a new level in their career. Millions of dollars was enhanced as a result of doing that. Got people in business that all of a sudden, a company in Australia that was basically looking up to Google for their creativity, and they had a creative IT company, and all of a sudden, within 2 years, Google was using them for creative function. So they basically owned the traits of the greats and played a new field. And that's one of the little tiny little components of breakthrough that I love doing, because I love people to realize that until you value you, the world won't value you. Until you realize you have something amazing to give to the world won't value it. And so this exercise allows somebody to play a whole new field of possibility. They give themselves permission to do something they never gave themselves permission to do. And they realize nothing's missing in them. Nothing. They have every trait. I've gone through 4,628 traits that human beings can have. I found every one of them in myself and thousands of my students. About 80,000 people have been through the breakthrough experience going through and identifying traits. and realize there's nothing missing in them. The only reason they're playing small is they're thinking it's supposed to be in the form those people have it, not their own unique form. And therefore they're playing small and minimizing themselves. This is crucial. So learning how to do the value applications and determination in the breakthrough, and also learning how to do the owning the traits of greats are two very powerful tools in business to help you. It also allows you to manage more effectively, because if you're looking up to people or down on people, you're going to have anarchy if you're looking up to your employees, and you'll minimize yourself and you'll give away your profits and you'll create chaos. If you look down on them, you'll project autocratically in a way that your customers are not going to listen, and your employees are going to end up creating unions. So learning how to level the playing field, owning the traits, neutralizing it, and appreciating the customer and the employees, et cetera, to fulfill a mission of a company is crucial. And that's what I'm trying to do in the breakthrough, to help people grow bigger companies and to grow bigger lives.
And I think what's so important about it is, as we've always said, when you work in business, you can do all the right things, but you still don't necessarily get the results. And, so when people don't realize how much they are impacting their ability to grow their business, as the leader in particular, and can stifle their own growth, they can be working exceptionally hard. They can be doing the right things. If we look, strategically what they should be doing, they're doing 99% of the right stuff, but they're not getting the results. The minute they go through this kind of process to develop themselves, to unblock those blocks, so to speak, literally instantly starts to go to growth. And I mean, it's profound, because so many people in business don't realize it.
When in the 80s, I was doing a lot of consulting. I literally did 1,000 clinics during the 80s, going literally week by week, going into different clinics and helping clinics grow in health field. And I was amazed at how many of them were having a coach or a consultant to guide them in addition to me. And they were trying to be somebody they weren't. There was, as Emerson said, envy is ignorance and imitation is suicide. They're trying to duplicate it outside their own value structure. And they were wondering why they couldn't sustain it, because their decisions are based on their values. And they were trying to be somebody they're not. And it's not inauthenticity that builds businesses. It's authenticity. And it's fair exchange, sustainable fair exchanges with people. And so the second we would actually help them identify what their values are, and then realize where there was incongruencies between what was being expected by the consultants or the people they were looking up to, and made sure that there was an alignment, they automatically now were able to do things they didn't think they could do. I had a gentleman who is in Australia. He's a lovely gentleman. He's also a speaker. He's an educator. He's a very fine man. And he came to the breakthrough experience, and no matter what he did, he couldn't get past a $40,000 a month income. So he was doing about $500,000 in his business. It was a viable business. It was making him some money. It was paying for his bills, and he was, living halfway decently. He came to the breakthrough experience, and he had an issue with his father that he didn't even really realize it until I asked him a series of questions and pinned it down to find out what was occupying space and time in his mind and running his mind. See, anything you infatuate with or resent occupies space and time in your mind and runs you. So we went through and identified what was distracting his mind, occupying his mind, other than growing his business. And we found out that his father was, but he had a part of his father that was infatuated with, another part he resented. And it was right interesting. He was upset for his father because his father had hit a plateau and didn't do really great in business and didn't really have a role model. And he kind of had this false expectation. His father was supposed to give that to him. That was a delusion. And then he had the other part that his father gave him some advice, but it was religiously driven, financially guilt-oriented things, like you shouldn't make money for, or otherwise you'll be greedy and this kind of thing. So he had this program that he was infatuated with his father, and he took in that stuff about don't make more than this amount of money or otherwise you're greedy. And then he had another part over there that was resentful to him, and it was running his life. So we did the Demartini method on his father and took both of those, neutralized those, cleared those, had tears of gratitude. He saw past his father, transcended the influence of his father's idea, and he went from 40,000 to 200,000 in 1 month. That was a massive jump. And all we did is cleared the distractions and the noise in his brain that was occupying space and time and mind that had been injected from his father on the parts he infatuated and the parts he was trying to resent and avoid. And so this is what people don't even know, that they've got subconscious stored baggage, you could say, that's running their behavior. They found in neurology that many of the decisions that people make are not even conscious. About 800 milliseconds before a conscious decision is made, there's an unconscious reaction. And then what we do is we backdate it so we can feel that we've come up with a reason why we did what we did, but we actually reacted. And this subconscious information is based on all the noise and all the infatuation, resentments, and things that we've stored. Anybody that we see that we infatuate with, if they didn't do well in business, that can affect us. Anybody that we saw somebody that we thought was amazing in business but did something we didn't like, that can affect us. So we have to know how to neutralize those, and that's what the breaks is about, neutralizing those perceptions. So you're think about it. As a leader, you have to be congruent. And automatically people are drawn to you to the degree that you do, because everybody deep inside wants to be authentic, congruent, and make the difference. And that's where you make the biggest difference, when you're authentic to your own values. But you're also going to have to lead people, manage people. You're going to have to negotiate. You're going to have to sell. There's so many different things as an entrepreneur, at least initially, you're going to be doing. And those all have emotional, I guess you say, subconscious things that are in our life along the way that we have to clear. And once we're clear, we can either delegate it or we can get on with doing it without any resistance. And that makes a difference in business. We are in the flow instead of in the you might say, the slow.
Yeah, and I think that, it's true empowerment in its simplest form, because you can have a major issue with somebody else, and we always, in the victim mode, sort of say it's about the other person and the other person needs to change. But using your methods, you actually, from my experience, it's almost like the other people change when they haven't had any work done. Nothing's changed. They haven't gone to the course. They haven't done it. But the way you perceive and react to the whole situation literally changes the entire experience around it.
Well, when you actually, I always say, when you love people who they are, they turn into who you love. You actually have an impact, kind of like a quantum entangled particle nanoparticle game on people that you have emotions about. And when you actually neutralize them, the interaction with them unquestionably changes. I've had people that are having major conflicts. I got to share a story. I just thought it just popped in my head. Many years ago, during the 90s, when the internet was coming on and people were getting websites, nobody had websites. And this company came along and killed it. They went to, it was amazing. They went to a 30-story building from nothing to a 30-story building with hundreds of employees in just a very short period of time. Unbelievable speed. Because everybody needed a website. They had nobody to go to a website. And they were hiring college students that were learning about the websites and working in this thing inside the web, inside the web. So they were basically not even having the overheads, but at the same time having people, and they were just growing this company massive and doing thousands of websites, thousands of them. But what was interesting is they were selling them like mad. And there was a woman who was doing incredible well in selling, but she was secretly dating a guy who was one of the principals of the company when it started, who now was outside his depth and was not really getting to do a whole lot of productive things. And so the second partner and the third partner were feeling like, this guy's not really earning the percentage that we originally agreed to. He's not earning his keep. He's just coasting. But yet, if we fire him, we're going to undermine the girl that's the biggest seller. And so this created a problem. So I brought in the Demartini method, and I cleared the resentment to the guy that wasn't producing, and I cleared the infatuation for the girl. And then he went to the lady that was selling and said, we need to disperse you, because if something happened to you, our company's affected. We need to disperse you and help you train everybody and they communicate in their values. And then we neutralized the resentment on this person, and that made a huge difference in the business. It just flourished because there was no resentment, there was no infatuation. Anything that you infatuate and resent, you can't manage if you're in a business. So that cleared it, and they were able to manage it, take that company to a big level. It was just amazing watching it. There were thousands of websites that were formed by that.
And I think that the key thing is that these methods literally affect sales. They literally affect the ability to grow a business, the culture inside a business, how effective people are, how happy people are, and taking, because many entrepreneurs may come from a place of inspiration, but they struggle to create something that, as an entity, like a business that fulfills that completely. But that's because they don't understand the human factor per se. They don't understand that like getting a person in whose values are not going to be served by the business at all is going to, they might be highly skilled, but they're actually going to have a negative impact on the business as a whole. So, it's so diverse in the different areas of business that can be affected by understanding this.
Well, the thing is whoever's out there, let me talk to you a second, because, you may be in a business right now, and you may have actually, you're working your way up, you're growing that business, and you may be running into snags, okay? And the snags could be how to make a sale. Or the snags may be how to package it in some way. Or the thing may be how to manage people, or how to hire people, or how to not be overwhelmed because you're not delegating properly. These kind of things. But you need to stop and reflect on what's really going down. I have an exercise that I emphasize in the breakthrough experience. I mentioned it. I went through it, but basically to look at what you're doing in a day and really making sure you're not majoring in minors and minoring in majors, but to actually look at what you're doing in a day and be honest about how your day is being spent, and make sure you're really prioritizing. This is where values comes in. This is where the method comes in. You won't give yourself permission to value and be congruent with yourself as long as you're putting people on pedestals or putting people in pits. They have to be put in your hearts. The heart makes a difference in the company. You can tell when people there's hearts in it. You can tell when they're just going through the actions. And a lot of people, the reason why they have difficulty, even though they're following the procedures, is not inspiring and their heart's not there. And people can sense it and they don't want to do business with that. But making sure that you go in there and prioritize what you're doing, make sure it's really what's most important, and make sure you're actually delegating lower priority things. Because if you're holding on to low priority things, you're draining your energy. I run into entrepreneurs regularly, and they come up to me and they says, I love my business, but I'm burned out. I said, why? Is that because you're not delegating things? And 99% of the time they're doing everything and they think they have to do it, and they're not letting go of lower priority things and getting somebody around them to help them that is more qualified and more skilled and more congruent and has on their highest value the thing they want to delegate. And the moment they do, they're liberated. That's why I want to teach people in the breakthrough experience the value applications and the value determination and the method, so they don't get trapped in those situations. Because sometimes they think, well, I can't afford to do it. Well, you can't afford not to do it. You're trapped if you don't. And you may think like, I can't, I could do it. By the time I delegate, I could have done it. Well, now you're now exaggerating yourself over people that are more qualified than you, that you could be hiring to liberate you to get on with doing even more empowering things. When I was in practice years ago, I found out that, this is ironic. I went 10 years almost to college to go be a doc at the time and also study philosophy and to teach. And when I got into the practice, I realized that me speaking, it was actually more productive than actually going in there in a cubicle and actually doing the doctor part. And so I hired 5 doctors to do that part, and I trained them on the procedures and taught them the clinical things, and went out there and generated people in the business because I got onto priority and I did what I did greatest. I got onto what inspired me, and I surrounded myself with people to do the others, and I made sure they were properly trained. I made sure they were masters at what they did, and it liberated me. So don't do desperate things. Don't do low priority things. Give yourself permission to get on with what's highest, even if you have to do it in increments, slowly but surely, but don't go a week without making some sort of an incremental growth in your priorities in your day. It makes a huge difference and liberates you, and you're going to make more income. You're going to serve more people.
Let's talk about a common problem that we see in business where, all businesses make money. I always like to say that. They all make money, but many struggle because they don't make profit, for instance. And where in the sort of human psyche and the challenges around values, will you get that common scenario where people they don't actually have a problem making money and they're very good at delivering the product or service, but they're struggling to pay the bills, month after month. They make more money, they spend more money, and they're stuck in that cycle and they're just not profitable. It's like they don't understand the context of profit. How do we fix that from a human perspective to actually change that behavior and change the results that they get out of the business?
I love that. Your hierarchy of values, the set of priorities you live by, will determine how you spend money. And money circulates through the economy from those who value it least to those who value it most. So if you don't have a value on wealth building, and you have a value on serving, but you don't have a value on wealth building, the probability of you actually keeping any of that money is very low. I know a gentleman that I consulted with that was a doctor, had been in practice 22 years and had $30,000 worth of debt still paying on a house. And he had no profits hardly. He paid off his house, he had it, but he had to live in the house. So it really wasn't any nest egg of any form that would ever earn him a passive income. So he was trapped, going to be working most of his life. And what was interesting is we looked at his values, and he had a high value on serving people. That was great. That drove him. He had a high value on making sure that people were pleased. He had a high value on family, which is great. There's no right and wrong values, except the hierarchy of your values is going to dictate your financial and your life destiny. But he had no value on building business and building wealth. He just did enough business building just to get the things that he really had a value on. So he was using a business to get the things he valued instead of having a value on building a business and building a financial nest egg and building a passive investment income. The second we shifted his values, as I explained in the Breaks experience, and I stacked up general benefits, and I did this process that I outlined in the Breaks experience. The second we did that, it took 3 hours of doing it. His mind alerted. We linked building wealth and building business to his current highest values, and we stacked up other benefits of building a business and building it, managing it efficiently, and making sure it made profits, and making sure he was saving, and making sure that he was not paying himself last, but paying himself first. So, because entropy will take money out of every company that's not put aside. You have to pay your bills, you have to pay your savings, you have to pay your taxes, you have to pay things in trenches and make sure it's structured properly. If you don't bring order to your finances, disorder will take it away. Well, we shifted his values, as I explained in the Breaks experience. We shifted his values. In 3 months, he paid off the last $30,000, more than he ever paid in that quick a time. And he started his savings because now he had the hierarchy of values that will lead him to the result. And so I show people how to shift the values because 99% of the people don't have financial independence, but they all fantasize about it. They all have a fantasy, oh, I want to be financially independent. They don't have the values that will lead them there. And if you have a business, you can work for 30, 40, 50 years of your life. If you don't have the values to build any wealth, you could be going and working with no margins and never set aside any money, et cetera. I've met thousands of people that have done this. So the hierarchy of values dictates your financial destiny. And the hierarchy of your values dictates how you manage a company and how you interact with life and how fulfilled you are in life. If you're not setting goals that are matching your highest values, or you're not shifting your values to match the goals you set, there's no fulfillment in life. So yeah, that's very important to make sure that you have hierarchy of values that's there, and to make sure you structure your business and your finances and not wait to see if there's any money left over. You have to take the money off the top, put it away, structure it into different locations, and you'll end up with more profit, guaranteed. When you manage money wisely, you get more money to manage.
Yeah, and that's never true words. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you are hearing Dr. Demartini. I know you're listening, but are you hearing what he's actually saying? You know, you could be struggling to grow your business, or you could be struggling to get a team to be effective, or you could be struggling to make profit, and you think it's what you're doing, and you're focusing on what should I do differently. And what you don't realize is that it's coming from within. And by working on yourself, and you know, this is where the power of the single event breakthrough experience that Dr. Demartini does throughout the world, almost every weekend, he's doing a breakthrough experience somewhere in the world. You don't realize that it's actually coming from within, and you can try, you can bring in consultants, and you can do things differently, and you can change what you're doing. But the truth is, if you haven't got what John's talking about, Dr. Demartini's talking about, if you haven't got that understood on a strategic level, that you know your values, you know how they get served, you know how to bring values in that are going to ensure that you get certain results and that you're true to the values that you have, you're not going to get the results. And I mean, that exact example is a major thing for me, because at the end of the day, you know, I teach people business and I teach them all the things that they need to do. And I eventually figured out I got to do them as well. But the truth is, success didn't really change until I changed from within. And, you know, I remember 2012, we grew a business over 20 times since I did that workshop with you, and I've worked consistently with you for years. And it's just unbelievable without having to change. We were doing all the right stuff. I just wasn't the right person, so to speak.
You know, it was in 1982, I opened up my practice. I had a 970 square foot office, and I had one staff member. 9 months later, I had about 5 staff members, and 9 months later, 18 months in, we had 5 doctors and 12 staff members, and it started growing. And, you know, it's interesting. It was at age 28, all the way to age 28, I worked hard. I was able to earn money, and I always earned money for saving for things. I could buy, you know, a new car. I could buy a house. I could buy a trip. I could buy equipment. I could buy books. It's always buying stuff. I was a consumer. But then I realized at age 28 that if I continue to go that path, I'll never have money working for me. I'll have me working for money. I'll be a slave to money instead of it working for me. At age 28, I had a shift in values. I think that's one of the reasons why in Breakthrough I emphasize that so much, because I know how much of an impact it had on me. Because from that day on, once I had that shift, my financial destiny changed. And all of a sudden, I started seeing wealth accumulate where it was working for me, and passive income. And I was able to grow projections and look at where it was and watch it grow. And I started to manage it differently, and I started to value it, and I started to receive it. It was like a shift inside me that had shifted the values and shifted my reality. Because you see, your values determine what you see in the world, what decisions you make, and what actions you take. And so you cannot not have those things. Those are what make the company. Your perceptions, your decisions, and your actions. So knowing how to be congruent in that, which is what wakes up the natural entrepreneur and leader inside you, that makes you allow you to endure challenges and pursue things that are inspiring to you, and allow you to feel confident to serve. Because whenever you're doing something congruent, you grow in self-worth, you gain more confidence, you feel more of a leader, and you feel you can do it and solve things. You feel more solution-oriented instead of problem-oriented. If you're not living congruently, you go in the blood and glucose and oxygen goes into the amygdala, and you get into the amygdala, and you want to avoid pain and seek pleasure, and you want the easy path, and you don't want to tackle challenge. And so you basically, it's easy to want to blame people and look for major solutions. You know, Jim Collins, when he said something about books, he said, it's incremental changes that keep building a business instead of this one magic bullet. But people that are not living congruently, living their lower values, are looking for they're blaming something on the outside and looking for this magic bullet on the outside, instead of looking within and consistently mastering congruency and focus, because you cannot stay focused on things that are not inspiring to you. Your highest value is the thing that is most affirmed in the brain. Your innermost dominant thought, your innermost dominant vision, your innermost dominant conversation that's congruent with that, that's where the power is on building a business. You see it, you can talk about it, you're fluent with it, and it's spontaneous. Nobody has to remind me to get up in the morning and do my research and teaching. That's spontaneous. Nobody has to go, hey, John, you need to think about your speaking and teaching. It's spontaneous. So if you want to have a more congruent state to help you in your business development and to be clear about what you want to go on to, finding out what the value is and getting them clear is very essential. That's why I have it on my website, to make sure that people can do it as an intro to the breakthrough experience. But in the breakthrough experience, I want them to get really clear on that. I don't want you to have motivation and need motivation and reminding and incentives on the outside. If you need punishments if you don't do things and rewards if you do things, instead of being inspired intrinsically within, you haven't got congruency. And that is a huge difference. That's the huge difference that makes the difference in the entrepreneur between goodness and great, as Collins would say.
So I think the key is, and again, if you're listening to this, I'm sure you're realizing there's something profound you could actually witness with Dr. Demartini through this program called the Breakthrough Experience. And shortly, we're going to give you an opportunity to go and find out where in the world, hopefully closest to you, the next breakthrough experiences are coming. But this is something, I'm just sitting here listening. I remember when we came to the breakthrough experience a while back, we brought a few of our team members. And I'm just thinking it's one thing for you to get it sorted out. And obviously, as a business leader, it's a critical component. But how powerful is it if your your leaders, your other leaders in your team, or your team as a whole, could have similar breakthroughs about what they're doing? And I mean, would you, Dr. Demartini, would you recommend that people, I'm literally thinking, I got to come to a breakthrough again, and I could bring my whole team with us. Surely we recommend that actually you take it beyond yourself and you actually bring other people to experience this, to have the same level of breakthrough. It completely transforms their productivity, completely transforms their ethic and their attraction in your business as well.
Well, the key is, as I said, that nobody goes to work for the sake of a company. They go to work to fulfill their values. When people in breakthrough discover what their values are, there's a light bulb that goes on. They go, whoa. Because many people, if you ask them what their values are, they'll tell you social idealisms, honesty, truth, integrity, and they'll give a kind of like a Superman, from the Daily Planet look. And I said, okay, well, that sounds really neat. Those are social idealisms, but let's now look at what your life demonstrates. Because what your life demonstrates, that tells me what you really value. Because what you're perceiving, what you're deciding, what you're acting. So I've put together 13 criteria, 13 questions to help narrow it down as objective as I can, to get an idea what your life really demonstrates. Once I know what that is, we can either link what you're doing in your business to increase your drive by seeing. Because if you can link what you're doing in your current business to your highest values, you can become engaged. Or you can reallocate the job descriptions through delegations to get on to do with the thing that's most inspiring. Either of those two I train to show you how to maximize your energy. Your energy level is not drained if you're congruent. So if you can see how what you're doing is on the way and helping you get what you want, or you're delegating lower priority things and just going on and doing what it is you want, you have a tremendous amount of energy. And anybody in business knows that when there's energy in the business, there's business coming to the business. You see it. It's an energetic place. When you see Peter Lynch wrote a book, Went Up on Wall Street back in the 90s. I remember reading many years ago. And he said after he does his quantitative and technical analysis of stocks and everything else, and he narrows it down, he then gets literally on a plane, or he goes to the headquarters, or he goes to some of the outlets of some of the companies that he's looking at buying, and he goes and sees, and he's looking for four things. Are they grateful for their job? Are they loving what they do? Are they inspired by the vision of the company? And are they enthusiastically working? If there's an energy level there, he knows that this place is going places. I went into Uniqlo Corporation in Tokyo, and there's a 9-story building, and that place was buzzing. There was 1,200 people, I estimated, in that store at one time. 1,200 people in that store. And I was just going, this is amazing, watching this. And it's the people there that were engaged. I had the opportunity to contribute something to that engagement there by bringing the value applications I bring in the breakthrough experience to that company. But 1,200 people were there buzzing because the people were buzzing. And when people are engaged and they're productive and they're inspired and they want to go and serve people, people kind of want to get that service. And that makes a difference. So that's why the breakthrough experience, in my opinion, is a cornerstone for an entrepreneur. And that's why I think most of the people that come there are entrepreneurs.
All right. Well, I mean, this is making me sit here thinking, okay, we need to make this happen with our whole team, because I think it's our team's very value connected, so we all have a common purpose in what we do. But I think of the things that hold us back. I'm thinking of myself in particular, but other things that hold us back, and how even though we may be conscious and we may understand there may be many people listening who have done the breakthrough before. That actually there's different levels, right? So every time you come back and do it, it's like a different level that you experience. And you may have broken through something that now is going to be more impactful.
You have different things you want to work on. I mean, in a business, it's not a stagnant thing. As you know, it's moving and it's changing. So all of a sudden you may grow the business. You now may add on space. Well, now you got the bigger space. Now you may have to hire people. Well, now you're going to need the value applications of the breakthrough experience to hire. But now you may find out that when you hire new people, now you get some conflicts between the old people that were working there because you brought an outsourced person and maybe somebody wanted to get that position. So now there's conflict. So now use the Demartini method from the breakthrough experience to dissolve conflict and to own the traits and level the playing field. But then you may find out a situation where now you're having to manage more people and you're having to sit down and figure out how to delegate that. Well, now you have to sit down and go through the value priority system. All these are components that I share with people because as you're even navigating through a growing of a company, you're going to be utilizing the Demartini method in the thing about conflict resolution and leveling the playing field. Or you may go out and let's say you're making sales, and all of a sudden you're confronting because you're now intimidated by the person you're having to do a major sale with. Now you do the Demartini method in there to level the playing field so you're not intimidated. Or maybe you have to go into a presentation and speak, and you got a fear of speaking. Well, now the only reason you have a fear of speaking is because you're assuming somebody out there has got something you don't, smarter than you, more successful than you, has more wealth than you, has more influence than you, and you're minimizing you and exaggerating them. So use the Demartini method to level the playing field so you have no fear of speaking. There's many different applications where you're managing people and making sure you're leveling the playing field. Because if you don't level the playing field in management, you'll become autocratic and you'll be using punishment rewarding systems constantly on your employees, which eventually they'll create a union to counterbalance you. Or they'll unite and mutiny you in the process, or you'll end up having a high turnover rate, which is costly. But all the different components boil down to human behavior, and the program Breakthrough Experience is about mastering human behavior. And I don't know of a company that's not humans. There may be machines out there, but we still need humans to run them and to design them and to manage them.
Exactly. All right, guys. So let's actually tell you about your opportunity to do the breakthrough experience. The Demartini Institute has put something really, really special for you guys that are on the webinar with Dr. Demartini right now. So we're going to pop up a link shortly, and it's going to show you. You're going to click on it. It's going to show you the different countries that the breakthrough is happening in the next sort of a month or so. But you're going to be able to get a 10% discount if you take this opportunity up now. You're going to get a 10% discount on whatever the special is in your country currently, which is amazing straight off the top. But over and above that, you're going to get a $300 gift which is the 6 Powerful Steps of Business Leaders, which is a program that you're going to get as a bonus for signing up off the back of this webinar as a whole. So let me just put this up on screen, John. Dr. Demartini, if you don't mind me taking your face away for a short while. Let me just share this with people so they can see it on screen. And I think, Gerard, if we can pop up the offer so that people can actually start clicking through to it. Let me just get to the right screen. So here we go. Yeah, this is the offer that's on the table, right? 10% off, whatever the relevant cost is in your country. You'll see as you click through that 10% will be applied to whatever country special you're on at the moment. And then, of course, that program worth $300 called the 6 Powerful Steps to Business for business leaders as well, which is really, really powerful. But I just want to say, we're giving you bonuses, we're giving you discounts to try and encourage you to take action. But I'm just listening to this, and I like to me as a business owner, I'm going, I don't actually care what this costs. I know I've done it before. I know some of my team have done it before. It's seriously time we did this again. So, it's not about that. The outcome that you get, we could charge you 5 times what they're currently charging you for the program in your country, and it's still going to pay itself off many, many, many times over. So, honestly, guys, if anything that Dr. Demartini is talking about is gravitating towards you and you're starting to wonder, maybe to get my business to the next level, I'm going to have to shift something inside me. This is the best opportunity in the world, as far as I'm concerned, for you to go and make that shift and see immediate results off the back of actually doing that in your business as well. And yes, we'll give you 10% off and we'll give you the bonus program. But at the end of the day, what you get out of those 2 days, 2 very extended days that you spend with Dr. Demartini is truly, truly, truly going to change your life. Dr. Demartini, just tell people a little bit more about the kind of impact, particularly through business owners. Please understand, everyone, even if you're not in business yet, my first big breakthrough was with my ex-wife. It had nothing to do with business. And today I still sing the praises of that process because of how close myself and my ex-wife are, because we have kids together. So it's not that it's specific around business, but it's profoundly powerful in the context of business as well. But Dr. Demartini, what other examples have you seen, people shifting off the back of the breakthrough experience?
Well, I've seen so many. I just want to say something about the 6 powerful steps before I go into that, if you don't mind.
Sure.
People, I had a gentleman in Buffalo, New York, that was in overwhelm. He was just absolutely in overwhelm and was just burning out. And he just didn't know where to go. And there's one little module in the 6 steps to business leaders that we went through on how to dissolve distraction and how to prioritize and get back in control. That one piece is worth a gold mine. This gentleman in Buffalo, we spent less than 2 hours doing this process, and it took such a load off his back. He was almost feeling like, well, wow, I'm so used to keeping myself busy. I think busyness is productivity. But he was actually liberated stress levels by doing that one process, just one. The other one is about prioritization and making sure that you're actually doing priorities that are real priorities, not just doing checklists, not just doing things that are on a list to do, but making sure they're really productive things. So these 6 powerful steps are for now. Even though the breakthrough may be weeks or months away, this is something you can get now and get started with, so you can build your business and make your profits before you even get there. So it's already paying for itself before you get there. As far as the breakthrough experience, I have people, like I said, that break through plateaus in business. They break through fears of speaking. They go through and they break through fears of financial levels where they're blocked financially. I got others that are having problems in the relationship, and I had a man and a woman he was basically shutting down his business because he didn't want to make profits temporarily because he thought, well, I'm going to go through a divorce. I don't want to have a lot of money. And that was crazy. I ran the numbers and I calculated. I said, well, even if you double the business, you still give her half, you're still ahead. And he wasn't thinking, but he unconsciously was resentful, and that was blocking and plateauing his business. So that can be another example in relationship. We have other people that are not prioritizing and they're burning out and they're not having energy, and they're ending up eating sweets and junk food because they're eating on the run, and they're basically not respecting themselves and their body. And by going in there and doing the Demartini method on themselves, they love themselves, appreciate. By going and prioritizing according to values, they basically liberate the energy, and their energy's back again. And as you know, when the energy's back, the business is back. And they get clear, because unless you're in the executive center, you can't see your vision. And when you lose your vision, it perishes. So there are applications in clarity of vision. There's application in getting clear on what the mission is according to what the values are, getting clear about overcoming the fear of asking clients about what do they really want. So you're meeting people's needs. Maybe you have a fear of upsetting people in management, and that to be able, you may have to hire or fire somebody, and you're afraid of being a bad guy, and you're afraid of being confrontive. You need to be able to own all the traits. That's why owning the traits, the greats, can be helpful. There's literally dozens and dozens of different applications that the method of values and also the Demartini method and the breakthrough experience is going to help people in their business. So it's going to be involved in marketing and sales, in leadership and management, in relationship management at home, relationship conflicts going on in the business, making sure you're not intimidated, make sure you're clear, not distracted. There's a lot of places where this work applies. And that's why I said it again, that most people that come to the breakthrough are entrepreneurs. And I love working that more so than anybody because they get to expand their vision. They get to do something extraordinary on planet Earth. I want people when they leave to have a tear of gratitude in their eyes. I want them to be grateful for what they learned. I want them to know that I'm going to spend them 25 to 26 hours with them in most weekends. And they're going to we're going to blast them with great information and tips and things that's going to use the rest of their life. So I'm absolutely certain the breakthrough experience will help entrepreneurs no matter what stage they are. I had a gentleman read the other day that has a $6 billion company, and he was working on an issue dealing with the people he was delegating it to. So he was having difficulties on an issue with him having sort of a mutiny and who he had delegated to, and he'd given too much power away and lost some of his drive, and basically wasn't engaged as much himself, lost meaning. So we used it for that. So whether you're a newcomer or whether you're running a massive business as a place, I worked with a banker in Australia that basically was sitting there and was bragging about how his business was doing great and everything else. And he got so cocky that he ended up having a hubris, you might say. He got so successful that he depurposed himself and stopped doing the things that got him there. And I showed him how to self-govern himself. There's a thing called governmentus, one who can govern their mind. And I showed him how to govern his mind so he's not letting emotions on the outside run him, but a clear, lucid vision run him. So he can stay focused and consistent and energized. I can go on and on with applications in business, but I've seen women at home are running a small business out of their home on a part-time basis, learn how to prioritize more effectively and clear the issues with their husband, because sometimes their husbands didn't want them to run businesses and they knew how to negotiate and effectively communicate more effectively because of the values and clear out the level playing field that they had with that husband. So I've seen all different applications in business in the breakthrough experience. But it is very inspiring to watch people and the letters I got 6 letters just in the last 2 hours, 6 letters from this last weekend in breakthrough already. And I've seen it. I mean, weekly I get these things from people's lives change.
It is honestly, one of the most profoundly empowering and powerful, experiences you can have in the field of personal and business development, in the world. And I think what everyone must understand, if you haven't experienced breakthrough, is it is not just a lecture where you sit and listen the whole time. It is highly interactive. And the reason it's called an experience versus a seminar or workshop is you will experience a breakthrough in the room. So even if you're not sure what you need to break through, you'll figure that out in the room. Or if you're clear about what you need to break through, you will experience a breakthrough in the room. And not only will you experience a breakthrough, you'll be taught how to experience these breakthroughs consistently in other areas of your life as well. So it is a highly empowering experience, as we call it, versus just a seminar where you learn a lot of knowledge. It's profound. And actually, I remember so clearly, even though I was in this room about 6 years ago, the experiences that people were having around it, and how personal Dr. Demartini takes it to make sure that every single person in that room will have a breakthrough of some sort. So, I'm definitely going there with the context around business, but it is a hugely experiential experience versus just an intellectual experience.
Well, I can't say, I could talk about it all day. I mean, it's my life's work. I mean, I've done the breakthrough experience 1,036 times. 1,036 times. People go, that's nuts. How do you do that? And I said, because if you saw what I saw every Saturday and Sunday, because I get to do them on the weekend. And so I've done 3 breakthroughs in 1 week before. If you saw what I saw, you'd be doing it too. The transformation in young people and old people and all different ages. We had a really lovely guy there this weekend that was a little bit tough to work with at first, but he melted by about 11:30 Saturday night when we got down to the closing of it. He was just sitting there. He just sat there. He was almost speechless. And I said, "Now you got it?" And he goes, "I got it." He was a different man on Sunday. And he thought he knew it all. He was up in he was, I'm 64 almost, and he's up in his 60s, I think closer to the 70 mark. He thought he'd learned it all. He's still learning at this program. And he said, I've got new things to apply now. I can't wait to go back to business now.
Maybe let me just bring that in. When you mentioned you 64, and I'm sure a lot of people are going like, "What? No, that can't be you on the screen." Health. This was something that has been a big breakthrough for me in the last couple of years. And I remember you talking about it all the time. I remember you telling me once that the older you get, the younger you come. In terms of how you free your body from a health perspective. But it's that's another incredibly powerful area that breakthrough can really impact you. And health is such a critical component to success in business as well.
Well, if you don't have the vitality and the drive and the energy, you'll lose it. You won't have it. And a lot of people, think, oh, I want to retire, and that's fine. Nothing wrong with retirement as long as it doesn't get in the way with your mission. But the thing is if you're losing energy, I've had people that have less energy than me, and they're 20 years younger, and I'm just astonished. And when I go in there, I just talking to them in a matter of 20 minutes or so, I can sit there and I can just rattle off everything that they're doing that's undermining their energy levels. They're basically not prioritizing, not delegating, they're not doing what's really important to them. They're not really matching what the people out there need. They're trying to shove things uphill. It's just one thing after another, and they're just breaking down. And you're going through a quiet life of desperation instead of a life of inspiration. And it's just a matter of just listening to them. I'm just going, oh my God. And then I said, if they could just get to the class, if I could just share with them and let them go and apply this and put this in operation, their lives will change. And some people think, oh, I've already been there. I already know all that. I've been to this. I've been to Landmark. I've been to this. I've been to Tony Robbins. I've been to all that. You haven't been to the breakthrough experience. They're idiots. It's not a rah-rah session. It's not a methodical moral issue thing. It's not about, here's your little formula that you do. That's it. It's very, very unique to you. And I believe that you deserve what you want. I was told when I was in first grade, I would never be able to read, write, communicate, never amount to thing, never go very far in life. And the very things I was told I would never do, I'm getting to do today. And it's because I applied the principles. And the principles they stand the test of time. They'll 10 years from now, 20 years from now, and 30 years from now, those things are still going to be there. They're going to still work.
Yeah, this is amazing. So guys, take advantage of this offer now. Click on the link. Go and commit yourself to one of these incredible experiences. I love the fact that they're giving you, that Dr. Demartini is giving you the 6 powerful steps for business leaders that you can start to utilize immediately and get results immediately out of that from your business. But then when you come to this event, and Dr. Demartini, if you can literally come to this event with like, I am not happy with the result that I'm getting in my life. Or I'm not happy with the relationship I have in my life. But you can come with any issue, and especially if you're clear about it, you can go through this process to have a breakthrough. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's only 2 forms of stresses that people face. The fear of losing that which they infatuate with, because in the amygdala of the brain, you fear the loss of things that represent food, prey. And in the brain, you also have the fear of gain of that which you resent, that gain of the predator. There's only 2 forms of stress. Every stress boils down to 2 forms. I'm going to show you exactly what to do to dissolve those. It's a very simple process, and you see people overlook it all the time, and they're looking for some complex mechanism to do it. But it's a very simple process. I'm going to show you how to take any form of stress. I say in the breakthrough experience, there's nothing your mortal body can experience that your soul, your state of unconditional love, can't transcend. In the breakthrough experience, I show you how to take anything that you think is in the way and turn it on the way, because there's no reason why anything has to be in the way. I just got a beautiful letter just about, 30 minutes ago, maybe 40 minutes ago. No, I guess it's an hour now. An hour ago from a principal at a school that I spoke to yesterday. And that was the one thing that he got from listening in on my class to the youth yesterday, because I was talking to young entrepreneurs of the future. And the principal's listening in. And he wrote out a letter to all of the parents of these kids, all of his parents in his entire school. And he said, the one thing I got from Dr. Demartini is how to turn whatever you experience that's in the way into on the way, and how to change your perceptions. You have control over your perception, your decisions, and actions. Any goal that you set is not one of those 3 things is not obtainable. It's not, you don't have control over it. But if you have something that you have the power to change your perceptions, decisions, and actions, that's what I'm going to teach you in the breakthrough experience. So no matter what happens, you can turn it with your perception into an opportunity. You can make a decision that's quick based on priorities. And then you can take the actions that you'll be energized to do. That's why I want people to do it, because it makes a difference. And I love making a difference. I'd love to make a difference for you. That's why I want whoever's out there listening, come. I can make a difference for you if you come. I can't help you if you don't.
And I can vouch for that. And I'm literally, biting at because I assume you're doing one in Johannesburg this weekend. Is that right?
I'm doing one in Johannesburg this weekend. Let's see where I go after this. I think I'm in the States, and then I'm in Toronto. Last week I was in Cape Town. The week before that I was in Australia. I mean, I've been in about 10 countries in the last 2.5 weeks. Literally between different flying, but doing seminars in the middle week.
Yeah, it's crazy. And just so you understand, if you click through and you see a date, like for instance, I'm training in Cape Town during this weekend, and I would literally want to be there this weekend. So, it's going to show this weekend's date. But if the date doesn't suit you, buy the ticket and the special anyway. It'll be valid for, I think, up to 12 months for any other date that comes down the line, because Dr. Demartini revisits most of the cities that he goes to. So don't let the fact that, I'm not available that weekend be the thing that prevents you from taking action. This could honestly, I can pretty much guarantee that this will be one of the best investments you've ever made in your entire life towards improving your fortune through business, or your life, or the quality of your life as a whole individually as well. And you'll probably get both out of it as a whole. So it is profoundly, profoundly powerful. The only thing you've got to do when you get there is open yourself up to what Dr. Demartini is going to teach you. You arrive there with an open mind and be prepared to listen, because it is profound what you will learn and what you will experience, hence the name, in those 2 days that you spend doing the breakthrough experience with Dr. Demartini. So guys, take action, take that claim. We're going to shut down in a few minutes, and you don't want to miss out on that at all. I just want to firstly say, Dr. Demartini, it's been such a pleasure. It feels like I haven't spoken to you for such a long time. And now I think I'm going to bring my whole team to come and spend a weekend with you in the very near future. So we'll definitely get to talk more from that. But it's been an absolute pleasure from my side. And thank you to Clarissa and the Demartini Institute for asking me to actually host this particular webinar. But thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. You're a true entrepreneur, and you inspired many people. And it's just great to have you help me today, because the truth is that people have something extraordinary inside themselves, and they deserve to bring it to the world. And they don't want to let anything on the planet stop them from bringing their entrepreneurial spirit and their message and their product, service, or idea out to people. And that's why we do this. I said it in my seminar the other day that one of the greatest things that a person gets to do is make a difference in people's lives. That is the most fulfilling thing we have. Nothing competes with it. And that's why we do what we do. So thank you for helping me do it.
It's an absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure. So guys, take advantage of the offer, because that's it from Dr. Demartini for this webinar. I hope you got some great value. There's some incredible tips and some incredible insights and strategies that Dr. Demartini has shared. But if you really want to take it to a different level for you and your team, come to the Breakthrough Experience. Look where the closest one is to you. Go and book it. If those dates don't suit you, book it anyway. Make the commitment. They will find the dates that'll suit you later on, and make sure that you get to this event, because it will truly transform your life. So listen, thank you all the people, the hundreds and hundreds of you still in the room, for coming and joining us from the session. I know people are joining us from late at night and very early in the morning in different parts of the world. So we really, really appreciate that. And once again, thank you very much, Dr. Demartini, and to the team behind the scenes for making this happen. Go out there, have an incredible evening, incredible morning, incredible night, wherever you are, whatever the time is, and make sure you are at the next breakthrough experience closest to you. Thanks very much.
And Brian, thank you. And I look forward to seeing you at the breakthrough experience, so I can help you get your dreams. You deserve them. Thank you all. Thank you very much tonight and today.